Here's how you can change your life in 1 year. There's an old saying that goes, people often overestimate their ability in 1 year and underestimate their ability over 5 years. Although I like the sentiment of this, which is, hey, think in longer term, make moves towards the longer term. I also think two things can be true. I think you can make a lot of strides in 12 months and in 5 years. And I think if you start to make the proper moves, you will see the results much faster than over 5 years. So I don't necessarily buy that a year isn't enough time to make a massive change. And I'm going to get into why and how you can make a change for yourself. The first thing we need to do when we decide we want to make a change is really get clear about what the perfect year would look like. Where do you want to be 1 year from now? Are you able to clearly write out those goals? Because without a target, we don't know what direction to step toward. Create your list. Where do you want to be financially? Where do you want to be with your relationships? Where do you want to be professionally? Where do you want to be personally with your fitness? If you can list all of those out and then jot what clear success would be in each of those areas, you're going to be better off. On the flip side of that, what are your anti-goals? What are the things that you don't want to happen, right? So for myself, I don't want to gain 20 pounds, right? I don't want to have my business lose money. I don't want to see my relationship suffer. I'm going to write down what the worst case looks like and make sure I know that when I'm putting effort into something, I'm either going towards the future me that I want or the future me that I don't want. So I'm able to see what is the action and which direction is it taking me toward. This comes to the next point. We need to focus on outputs over outcomes. When we go to create anything, whether that's a family, a business, a book, a YouTube video, if we become obsessed with outcomes, how we think it's going to be perceived by our peers, how we think it's going to be taken in from our friends and family, we're playing a losing game. We need to focus on outputs. Outputs we can control. We cannot control how people look into our media. I can't control how you take this video, what you think of it. I can only control the output. That is creating the video, creating the content. Now, why is this so important to focus on output? It speaks to a couple things. When you look at your outputs, you're really focusing on discipline. You're building that discipline muscle, that thing that says, okay, I'm going to sit at the computer and I'm going to write 1 page every day towards my, book, or I'm going to create 1 video a week, or I'm going to go out and practice a physical skill every week at a set time. You're starting to build that discipline muscle, and something interesting comes when you do that. You start to improve your skills. I want to talk to you about a study. The University of Florida, there was a photography class there, and the teacher had an exercise for his class. He said, we want to produce the best photo. I'm going to give half of you one job. And that job is to take as many photos as possible. The other half of the class, your job is to take 1 photo and submit it. Now, at the end of the semester, they went through and they picked the top photos from the class. All of the top photos came from the side of the class that was tasked with taking the most photos possible. Now, why? It's because when they were taking those photos, they were learning about focus, aperture setting, how to use light, how not to use light, etc. They were learning by doing, correcting, right? They were able to iterate. The other side was focused on getting the perfect picture, which led to paralysis, inaction, and really an inability to see any corrections or anything along the way. So why is this important for us? We have to take this to our own life. If you're trying to create something, a business, a book, a YouTube channel, whatever, focus on putting in consistent output. What can you do consistently day in and day out that's going to start to build that discipline muscle and build the skills that you need to create the life you want? This is where I try to focus and think about things in a way that takes me away from the outcome, right? I have to really distance myself from this perceived outcome, how someone's going to judge me or how I'm going to judge myself. It tends to work out a lot better when I do that and just focus on, hey, I'm going to create, 1 video a week or what have you. So that's what I would look for. Okay, now the idea of putting in that consistent effort versus being focused on outcomes, there is a caveat there, and there is something I want us to make sure that we're looking at, and that is that we're not putting effort in the wrong direction, right? So how do we know when we're doing something that's going to help us over the long haul? And what I break this down into in my brain is, am I eating candy or am I eating chicken? Nutritionists out there, don't come for me on this, but the premise I think makes sense. And that is, if something is candy, it's a quick hit. It's dopamine, habit, but then you crash after. We all know that crash. You go eat a bag of Smarties, you're gonna feel good for 30 minutes and then you're gonna be out. However, chicken, if I eat that, I'm gonna have more sustained energy. It's not gonna give me that high. I'm not gonna crash after, and it's gonna be building towards a future better me, right? Where candy, immediate high, but I know that the more candy I have, the worse shape I'm gonna be in emotionally, physically, the whole bit. So I go, is this a candy or is this chicken? And what I mean by that is, are my activities falling into one of those two categories, right? Am I chasing a quick hit of dopamine, or am I building something that leads me towards fulfillment? An example, creating a tweet, a funny TikTok, something that really doesn't build for the future, right? Opposed to, maybe on the flip side, is building out a TikTok strategy, filming 20 videos, getting them edited, and scheduling them out over the course of 3 months, or putting together this YouTube video, which is a little bit more of a time commitment, and then it's going to be on the internet forever, right? Hopefully. And that's where I want to break down my efforts and make sure, hey, when I look at my day and I look back on the day that just happened, did I put effort towards those things that are building for a better me? Or was I chasing candy? Was I chasing the quick hit of dopamine? Look into that. Make sure you're auditing your time at the end of the day, end of the week, and end of the month. That is going to be the biggest thing to make sure that you are actually putting the effort in. Lastly, as a rule, just a couple rules that I think will make life better and the next year better for you. And it's really, really simple. 1, you need to spend more time creating content if you're in this world than you do consuming it. 2, you need to spend more time sweating than watching other people sweat. Those are just 2 things. And that means, hey, take care of your personal fitness and make sure you're putting the time in to create whatever you want, right? Could be business, a YouTube channel, etc. It'd be the exact same premise. Spend more time on your business than you do reading business books. You need to go through and make sure we're putting that time in, getting those reps. All right, if you like this video, hit like, subscribe. I'm excited to share more of this content with you. If you got any questions, drop them below. I'm Jordan Shelton. Catch you next time.